What's up, my smushy little bananas? This is Rob from Gay Guy Plays, and today on The Snapshot, I am so incredibly exhausted. I've spent like 8+ hours when it comes to stress testing new Wukong builds for his recently released rework, and let me tell you, I think I finally found one that I absolutely love. So we're going to be taking a look at that a little bit later in the video. However, I did want to go ahead and give you guys a little bit of my first-hand experiences with the rework, how I feel about it, some key notes that you guys should definitely pay attention to, and some things that I'm not super fond of, but also things that I really do like. So speaking of things that I really do like, let's go ahead and kick things off with Celestial Twin. I was not expecting this to be any good, but I almost feel like this is a pivotal part of his kit that is just fucking fantastic. So one of the things that I really need to stress is I love the AI on this guy. He is just all in, he is hyper aggressive, and I kind of love it. And one of the things that I need to point out, because I know that a lot of people have been worried about how his Celestial Twin is going to be against nullifiers. And let me tell you right now, pretty fucking good. But he goes in and he's just fine. He doesn't disappear, nothing happens to him. He's like, we're ready to rumble. So all of that is really amazing, which I love, because you don't really want to have to recast him over and over and over again if you are bringing him against nullifiers. The other thing that I really want to point out is he is so freaking tanky, as long as you're using the rest of your abilities and, you know, making sure to do a little bit of work to keep him alive every now and then with a little spot heal from Cloudwalker. But in general, I haven't really experienced him dying on his own until about 1 hour into a Mott survival. Now, for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with Mott, it does have a 4x damage multiplier from the enemies. So on a standard survival mission, he's gonna be fine an hour plus in. And even after that hour, I didn't find that I needed to recast him constantly. It's just, you know, enemies would get their licks in every now and then. Maybe you'd get like an unlucky shot from a nullifier. Listen, nullifier versus Wukong, you know, sometimes it's a back and forth battle. That's what happens. But he's really, really tanky, so I'm definitely really happy about that. The other thing that I want to go ahead and point out too, especially for people who have some issues with AI, that kind of like hates Kavats and Kubros and some of those companion stuff, if you are more than 30 meters away from your Wu clone, he will automatically teleport to you. So that is a great feature that I wish that they would go ahead and kind of bring into Kavats. I think that they actually already do. Maybe I'm just not paying as much attention as I should. I usually let my cat just run free and do as he wishes. But legitimately, your Wu clone will stay by you, which freaking love. Moving on with Cloudwalker. Oh, this really fucking fast. You know how like the old Cloudwalker was, where it's kind of like this slow mist that creeps? No, this is the complete opposite, to the point where I'm like, can we tone down the movement speed? Like, sometimes it's a little bit disorienting, especially because of the fact that you're able to reorient yourself through space. And in all honesty, like, to me it gets a little bit like, oh my god, like, I'm moving too fast. But the key thing is you have to move with Cloudwalker in order to heal. So that's definitely one of the big things that I want to point out. If you are just sitting in the same spot, your Cloudwalker heal will not do anything for you. So make sure that you're dashing around at light speed in order to do that. Sometimes I'll do like a little circle just so that I'm moving, so I will go ahead and get the heals off. But I will say one cool thing about Cloudwalker is, okay, at the end of it, your Wu clone will teleport to you, which is fantastic. So what I tend to do is, especially when you get into like an hour plus into Mott survival, I mean, regardless of how much defensive tankiness you have on Wukong, you're gonna take some hits. So what I tend to do is I almost use it as like just standard travel. I know that sounds weird, but with the specific build I have, you don't really have to worry about energy as much towards more difficult content. So it's kind of like one of those things that you can spam. So it helps keep you alive, it helps keep your Wu clone alive. So it's just fun. I really enjoy it except for the extremely fast speed. But one of the big differences between this and the other one is the other one was a toggled ability. This does have a duration to it. So you will have to recast it once it's over. But at that same point in time, when you come down from Cloudwalker after the duration ends, any enemies that are currently around you will be stunned, and you can still perform finishers on them. So for me, all in all, I like Cloudwalker just fucking fast. Moving on, we have Defy. Now, I have to say I really kind of fucking like the new Defy, but there are issues. So it does cap out at 1,500 bonus armor, so there is no way to affect that in any way, shape, or form. And as you guys know, after the period is done, after you're absorbing all of that damage and you do a big AoE to smack around enemies, then that's kind of like where you get a lot of your tankiness from. But one of the things that I need to like point out, and this is more for like star chart gameplay, and you're gonna hear me refer to that a lot, star chart gameplay and like high-end gameplay. In star chart gameplay, the taunt portion is really shitty. I'm just giving you guys a heads up. There are times where I've literally been like on a defense mission and I will be a little ways away from the defense pod. Like, I'm not super duper close, but what'll happen is I'll turn on Defy and an enemy will be hitting me and then he'll walk right by me and I'm like, where are you going? I thought I was supposed to attract your ire. I thought I was supposed to like bring in your fire. Come back. I need you to deal damage to me. So for me, Defy actually is not as important during like star chart missions than it is towards like more difficult content. Number one, because of the fact that star chart missions usually you could just kind of like power your way through and kill everything really, really quickly. But once things do get more difficult, let's say if you're on a solo mod survival for several hours and want to scoop your eyes out because of the pain, just like any hit from one of the bigger enemies, literally like a freaking single bullet will bring you up to your max Defy, which is really, really nice. So that's definitely one of the things that I really, really like. The only thing that I will put out there, and this is very interesting, is when you get out of casting Defy, one of the things that I highly stress is keep your eye on, number one, the damage that you do to surrounding enemies, because that'll be your first tip off if something goes wrong. And also make sure to take a look at your armor gauge bar. And that's because there have been some instances where literally I'll be standing in front of an enemy and it'll look like he's hitting me, right? It'll look like he's hitting me. And then I come out of Defy, and I guess he must have missed his shots, or maybe he only hit me with an elbow, because I'll be at like 50 armor, or maybe like 125 armor, and I'd be like, what is happening? But just do be aware that Defy is recastable, so if you get into that situation where you're like an hour into a mod survival and for some reason an enemy can't hit you, you can go ahead and recast straight out of the gate, and then it'll put you back in Defy, and then you can go ahead and take a couple more shots from the enemy, which should bring you back up to max armor, and you'll be fine. Just do pay attention, because I've had a couple deaths based on that. I've been like, everything's fine. Oh! 50 armor! Where did that come from? So that was definitely very painful, but pay attention. And the last thing that I do want to put out there, and this is one of my favorite like little tactics, is let's say if something happens and you do go down, or let's just say you need to like reposition, go use Cloudwalker, and then when you come down from Cloudwalker, because of that little stun, you have just enough time to cast Defy. So that's like a nice little combo. If you want to get like in the middle of a group of enemies, just plonk yourself down, cast Defy, boom, you'll be able to go ahead and get all of that damage. Unless, of course, there's like a pesky cryopod waiting somewhere that is attracting more ire than you are. But legitimately, that's one of my favorite combinations. And then last but not least, which to me is like the star of the show, if I'm going to be honest with you, is Primal Fury. Holy fuck. Holy fuck, Primal Fury makes me excited for Melee 3.0. It really, really does. The combos feel more fluid, as you guys know, and maybe we'll go ahead and demonstrate that a little bit when we take a look at the build. But there are 4 different combo types. So there's just like the standard standing combo type, then there's the moving forward combo type, and then there's the aimed version. So if you're just standing there like normal and you're not moving forward, you're going to perform melee attacks with a lot of damage multipliers. And then if you are moving forward while you're doing it, you're not going to get the damage multipliers, but you will get large sweeping cleaving attacks so that you can clear out a bunch of little enemies. And then the other ones are zoomed in while you are meleeing will kind of do like AoE CCs. Which is kind of like, you know, where he rides his pole and he like smashes down on the ground. And then if you zoom in and you're moving forward, it'll actually perform a poke and a dash, so that way you can get in range of enemies that are a little bit further away. It just feels a lot more fluid. The only thing that I will warn you, if you are doing that aim dash combo, be careful of nullifiers. There have been several times where I have accidentally used that combo. I'm like in the zone, and then all of a sudden I will aim dash into a nullifier bubble, and then you gotta get out, fix your life for a minute, and then, you know, everything should be cool after that. Regardless, those are my main thoughts about the Wukong rework. I really did like how it feels now. It feels a little bit better. It feels a lot more interactive. It's a little stressful from time to time, but here's the thing. I think that people forget sometimes, especially DE, I'm just going to be frank, forget that difficulty can be fun, and having a challenge is a fun thing. And this makes Wukong not challenging in a bad way, but more interactive, and the challenge of kind of like managing your life, managing your armor buff, and managing your energy and all of that kind of stuff. It becomes like a really, really cool game. It's very, very fun, and far more engaging than the set it and forget it Wukong. Now, I know some people are gonna miss that style, but roll with the punches, I guess. That's what we gotta do this day and age, right? Regardless, let's go ahead and take a look at the build and the build in action, as well as all of the extra details that come along with it, because I have a lot to say about this. Okay, so now that you guys got some actual gameplay and got to take a look at this build in action, I do feel like I get a little bit of free reign to show it off in the simulacrum. Some people get really mad, but I wanted to prove to you that it works in real life too. Regardless, I wanted to give you guys a bit of context as to exactly why I built this the way that I built it, because I'm gonna mention some trade-offs that I made that make this build a little bit less palatable in star chart play, but make it a lot more functional in like long duration solo survivals. I'm not sure, because I haven't really gotten to test this in kind of a group setting where you have a lot of people going in for long durations. But to be completely honest with you, if I'm gonna go for an extra long run, it's most likely gonna be solo. So I definitely tailored this build to that. So let's go ahead and jump on in, and I'll show you how it performs in our little Pee-wee's Playhouse, right? So I've got my little Wu clone. Let's turn on Defy real quick. And hopefully they hit me enough. Yes, okay, perfect. Again, always keeping an eye out to make sure that all is well and good when it comes to your armor buff. Now, as you can see, my Wukong has taken a little bit of damage. One of the strategies that I like is to come in behind nullifiers and kind of like surprise them, because both you and your Wukong pop up there. And as you can see, our poor baby Wukong did take a little bit of damage. So we give him a little bit of a happy, friendly heal. And since we're here, listen, since we're here, friends, we might as well just go ahead and refresh our armor buff. That's something that you definitely want to keep in mind when you are playing, is if you have the opportunity to refresh your armor buff, just go ahead and refresh your armor buff. It's really, really fantastic, just to kind of make sure that you're not running into a situation where you're like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? Another thing that I really do like is the Cloudwalker, being able to reposition from it and to kind of pick out specific targets that you want to take down, because it's really, really important, especially when you're doing those long survivals and all that kind of stuff, to make sure that you're taking out priority targets. And Cloudwalker is really good. Oh, see, there's the 50 armor, like I was saying. It looked like it was going to be able to hit you, but it wasn't. They lied. Okay, so I'm taking a little bit of damage here. We're going to reposition over here. Woo! And as you can see, Wukong is doing just fine. So again, keep the heals up. Find the specific targets that you want to go ahead and take down, and then you can double team them with your little Wu clone, right? So I'm gonna move my ass, woo, bubbles. And also be very careful of your combos, because you kind of gotta get used to them again. Oh, Wukong, where'd you go? It's okay. You're back now. You're back now. He probably fell off the edge somewhere. That's probably exactly what happened. But, you know, he can really, really hold his own pretty well, and being able to use Cloudwalker to kind of, like, restore him, and then, ooh, nearly fell off the edge, to take down, like, stronger targets, makes them a really, really powerful duo. And to be honest with you, it really feels like a team when you two are together. The one other thing that I want to go ahead and point out, let's see if I can just, maybe take it down to, like, some corrupted bombards real quick. Let's go ahead and simulate this. Ooh, maybe I can make my Wukong go away real quick. I love you. I do care. I just want to show something off real quick. Now, one of the things that I didn't get to mention when it came to Primal Fury is one of the things that they added is they actually changed around the IPS. So they actually added slash to it. So now you only have, I believe it's impact? Or is it puncture? It's one of the two. It's one of the two. And slash. But you'll notice all of these freaking slash procs because they also improved the status chance. So now you got a big stick that you can wave around to use with all of these slash procs, inflict all of those slash procs, and then go ahead and hit him with whatever element you go in with. So regardless, let's go ahead and take a look at the build now, because I'm sure you guys have waited long enough and you're like, Rob, just get to it. So as you guys can see right here, we've got a lot of survivability on this build. We have Steel Fiber, Adaptation, and Umbral Vitality. Now, I did take this into Warframe Builder because I really wanted to see if I can put in an Umbral Fiber. But in all honesty, I didn't want to do I didn't want to use a Umbral form on, especially not on a non-prime frame. I didn't want to do that. But I did go ahead and toss on Umbral Intensified to kind of make the pair. In addition to that, we went ahead and tossed on Streamline and Prime Flow and Hunter's Adrenaline. Now, this is the big thing that I wanted to go ahead and point out, because originally it wasn't Hunter's Adrenaline. I actually had to form out that polarity slot because it would not have fit. And it was originally Augur. It was not Augur, it was Augur Secrets for the power strength. So what happened is this was a little bit more focused on power strength. We had a little bit more oomph there. But clearly we don't necessarily need it, because if you're taking on 165s and, you know, the things that you saw in the footage, it wasn't that difficult to kill things. So I was like, okay, I don't really need that much power strength in there. The other thing that I want to point out that you'll notice is lacking from the build is range. There's only really, I guess you would say, one thing that is important for range, and that's for Defy, and that's when it comes down to its damage radius. So, you know, when you do your big swing outwards, it'll actually pop out in a larger radius if you put some range on there. But beyond that, you don't really need range for Celestial Twin. Cloudwalker, it's just the stun radius. And then Primal Fury isn't affected by range here. It's affected by range in your actual melee build. So, so for me, I was kind of like, okay, well, we don't necessarily need range, but we can go ahead and use Hunter's Adrenaline. Now, one of the things that I made a big swap on is I'm using double Arcane Guardians. I really wanted as much tankiness as possible so that I could bring this into longer duration runs and feel a bit more comfortable. And in all honesty, with those slotted in, I did feel a ton better. The interesting thing that I wanted to point out too is with Wukong, at least his current state right now, you have invulnerability and healing from Cloudwalker, and then you have invulnerability, damage reflection, of course armor increase when it comes to Defy. So the big thing here is you want to make sure you have energy. You want to make sure that you have access to energy, and Hunter's Adrenaline really helped out with that during higher levels. I found that with Arcane Energize, because this was originally Augur Secrets and 2 Arcane Energizes. Now, the issue that I found with that is that KPS can kind of go down towards, like, higher end stuff. So what ends up happening is, you know, even though you're able to stay ahead of the life support towers when it comes to your kills, there's really no issue with that. But what ends up happening is your drop rate, because you're not killing as fast, goes down a little bit. So you don't get as many orbs, thus you can't fuel energize, but enemies are always hitting you. So why not go ahead and utilize that and keep your stuff full? I also want to point out here real quick, don't feel like you need to do any of this. Like, do your own build, whatever build works best for you. This is just what I tested, and I was happy with at the very, very end of the day. So feel free to do with what you wish, but this is how I kind of geared this build towards later duration runs. So that's me. That's how that feels. Let's go ahead and jump into the Iron Staff. Now, this one is basically just a status build. We've got Condition Overload on there. We've got Prime Breach because we want our staff to be nice and long, right? Prime Pressure Point, Prime Fury, we don't even talk about that. I've been using Corrosive. I might end up trying this out with a little bit of Viral because, as you can see, we do have Slash. And I did kind of promote Slash a little bit with Buzzkill. But one thing that I actually wanted to talk about that I thought was an interesting addition was actually, what is it called? Healing Return. I actually used in the original build Healing Return a lot, mainly because of the fact that literally you've got this big long stick that is really good at inflicting status, and you're able to hit multiple targets at once and basically keep yourself fueled. So that's another angle that you guys can work with, but at the end of the day, I kind of like the Slash procs a little bit better. And it's also another thing, if you notice, I did go ahead and remove the dash polarity. Usually I keep a dash polarity in there for corrosive projection, but I found that since I was proccing so many Slash procs, it bypasses armor, so it's not a necessity for me to use corrosive projection. So I went ahead and tossed in Steel Charge, and that kind of made up for some of the power strength that I was lacking from Augur Secrets. So it was kind of like a little bit of a trade-off here and there, but regardless, this is what I am currently using right now. You know, things might change in the future, but after a lot of play and many missions and many moments of me being unsatisfied and many moments of me being quite satisfied, this is what I ended up with. Regardless, let me know how you guys have felt about Wukong so far with the new rework. Are you guys having as fun with it as I am? Do you agree that Defy needs better tauntingness? And also, what are you hoping for when it comes to his deluxe skin? Are you cheering for next week too? Are you excited for that one? Toss all of your feelings down in the comments below. And as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch yo squishy banana. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. I feel like there's something that I'm forgetting. Is there? I don't know. You tell me.